All right, welcome back. This is Be Inspired. I am Gigi Inspired, Gillian, Giorgio, here to drop some gold on you today. I've got a wonderful guest. I'm so excited to be here with you, Caroline. This is going to be awesome. So, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let me tell you all a little bit about this wonderful woman. She's from Charlotte, so born and raised, military family. Her husband, though, her dad was a Vietnam vet, and now this woman has had careers in multiple industries: engineering, media, franchising, health and wellness, real estate. She's like a Renaissance woman. So she was referred to me, and we just had a conversation, and I don't know, it was like a 30-minute conversation, and it was just phenomenal. I was just like, she's got so much to share. So you were all in for a treat today. She's just really got a very, very simple but powerful message. So I'm excited to share this time with you, Caroline. Appreciate you, and I appreciate an opportunity for you to share some of what you know with all these great people. So,
well, thank you. You made me sound better than I am. But I appreciate that.
absolutely. Well, so tell me a little bit, because this is the podcast for entrepreneurs, and I always joke. I say this is it's kind of like my FU to everybody who told me not to become an entrepreneur, because
Oh yeah.
that happens, right? I'm sure you had naysayers along the way that told you not to do things.
Oddly enough, I really didn't. I have to say, honestly, no, I didn't. I think, younger on, because I started so young and I had probably big, bold ideas very young, that they were like, oh, where'd this kid come from, kind of thing. It's like, hey, you'll see. So, maybe I wasn't taken seriously, but I think for the most part, a lot of people wanted to see me succeed. Like, I don't know if they could detect my energy or my drive at such a young age, but I met some really instrumental people that helped me be extremely successful, which I appreciate them. And they're still all in my lives as, today. So I appreciate them for that too.
That's amazing. So, I mean, you were an entrepreneur really young. So, can you kind of talk a little bit about your journey into the entrepreneurship world since you started so young?
Well, I think when I was a kid, I didn't think much of it. My father was self-employed, so we did that as a family. But just like raking leaves, my mom would laugh at me because I would rake leaves for a living and try to save money for like Christmases and things like that. And then I'm like, I can get some of these guys from the neighborhood. I could pay them, and then kind of built my own little business, and it did well. We did the same thing with the paper. And then I wanted to be an engineer, and I was going to go to law school for an engineering degree and bilateral for business. And I kind of did the same thing. I was riding my bicycle looking for people to teach me how to do things in graphics. And you'd be so surprised, I think, when people are eager to learn, people sense that and they're willing to share. And I would say, I'll volunteer, I'll, do your books, do whatever you need, clean your office, whatever you need me to do, if you'll share some of those skills with me, in addition to me being a programmer pretty young. So, I was just, again, that's just other people caring enough to share their knowledge and probably get some free work too. And I think the energy of somebody to come in and have that kind of drive, I think, people were just willing to help me, and they taught me a lot of things along the way.
That's huge, because I don't think people realize how willing people who have already had success are to
Oh
help.
yeah.
But you
Yeah.
got to be eager. You got to be
Yeah.
after and hungry. Say what you want, and then also back it up and mean what you say and actually do it.
Yeah. Hmm. I agree with that.
Mentors love helping people, but they also want to make sure that you're actually listening to them.
Well, and that your time is not wasted. I'll help anybody who wants to help themselves. And I mentor a lot of kids. I've seen some kids that have been tremendously successful. They had gifts. And I'm like, oh, I can really help you with this. But they did the work. They were in and probably more disciplined than some of my employees. I hate to say that, but I mean, they're going to get angry at me. But it's the truth. I mean, some people have that drive, and some people say, no, I'm good with what I do. That's it, and that's okay too. I mean, that's okay too. If you're comfortable with that, that's great. I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, I'm trying to go work for myself. And I've done it before and went back to a traditional job, kind of back and forth or on the side. And I'd say, if you think you work a lot now, wait till you're self-employed. good luck. Because I think they have this preconceived idea that, oh, it's going to be easy, or somebody's going to fund them. Like, like we talked about the other night, the GoFundMe. I'm not a big advocate of, nobody owes you anything. Sorry about that. Owes you anything whatsoever. So if you want it, you need to go get it, create it. And is there sacrifices? Absolutely. Yeah, be ready to sacrifice. You can't have everything in a day. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. That nobody's going to discover you. You're out on the street and all of a sudden someone's like, oh, I think I want to teach you how to do my business. Like, you have to be hungry and you have to be looking for it, you have to be actively seeking it. And I think that's a huge part of things, and I had this question for you because I really thought about how do parents, guide their kids to be more successful in life? How do they set them up? Because I know your parents did some great things to be able to encourage you.
They did not, people, this may not be an overly popular answer, but but I think it's the truth. You start giving them tasks when they're young. Breaking them of this poor me, breaking this of the wine, even at 10 years old, my dad would say, okay, you're not a kid right now, you're answering the phone, and you can never say, like, the funniest thing is, like, I don't care if I'm in the restroom, don't say dad, or my dad's in the restroom. I mean, because when I was 10 years old, he had to kind of coach me, and he's like, you sound like a kid. I was like, I am a kid,
Right.
They walked us through that and trained us, and we have responsibility. So we had our set hours after school, for 2 or 3 hours, and that was part of the discipline. Then my mother would sit down, and I think that's really what I learned about the financial side of business and how to grow business. My mom would sit down and say, here's what we have in the bank. Here's what the company bills were. Here's what our personal bills are. Here's what your father needs. Here's the list of this. Here's inventory. Here's cost. Here's everything. So after all of that, you see kind of what we have left. And, how much do you think you should have for the things you want? Do you want your Nikes or your Coach bag or whatever? Do you see that's money well spent right now? I'm not saying you can't have it, but I want you to see the big picture so you have a clear understanding of what these things cost. So I think that was very beneficial to me.
That's amazing. So at 10 years old, they were sitting you down and kind of talking about
yeah.
So good. That's so good. And look, I'm from the financial industry. And so we're trying to always teach fiscal responsibility and be more financially literate. I got into this industry. I used to be in medicine. I got into this industry because I felt like, how is it that I'm in a master's program right now and I don't know a lot of these basic fundamental things? I think we have a severe disadvantage because we're not taught about these tools in school. So that's huge that your parents sat you down and we're doing that with you and showing you. I'm like, oh, I need to, show my kids even more.
Well, and I think with my mom would say, at 10 years old, I feel like I'm raising a 30-year-old. So I think they had to do something with me because, my father was in telecommunications, and when he came out of Vietnam, and he was an aviation engineer, so he switched over. And like, I'm the king, I still am. I am the queen of why, why. And I think all those whys. And then my parents saw me that I had a good savings account. I was already, looking at raking leaves, bringing money. I had more. My sister was 9 years older than I was, and I have more savings than she did from stuff like that. Even stuff like, go clean the car. Do you want to go clean the car? That was a task. I'm like, yeah. So my father would say, you get to keep all the change. I'm sitting there thinking, hey, my dad's good about leaving some change. Yeah. The next thing I know, he's dropping like $20 in there. And I said, oh, Daddy, there's like $100 in the car. And I cleaned. He's like, that was a deal. You clean the car. My sister was wanting to go to the mall. It was kind of like, I want to go hang out with my friends. So I think they saw me, and then I developed, pretty fast. I mean, my mom being French, they homeschool you. I got homeschooled. They start in France a lot earlier in school than they do in America. So I think my mom had that mindset too. And it was just, we were just such a tight knit family. So that's where my dad got me into programming, for his company, and that kind of took off and got me into technology. So, but same way, they wanted me to go to college. I'm like, I think I can get my companies to pay for it. I want to be debt free. So I think they saw a lot of things in me already. Like, I think we're gonna have to do something different with this kid, kind of thing. And I think everybody I encountered, like going to business parks and knocking on doors and say, hey, my name's Caroline. Back then it was Caroline Perrine. I'm Carolyn Perrine, and I'll tell you, here's the skills that I have. Is there anything that you can teach me? What is your business doing? And they're like, where did you come from, kind of thing. But you get a few, now down how safe that is. I mean, I think back then you didn't worry as much, but you're also at a business park, you're going, and people seem to be surprised, and you would be so surprised how many people would say, you know what, kid, you got some guts. Look, here's what we do. Is that something of interest? And I would be yes or no, or maybe I figured I could learn anything. So
that makes such a difference, that hunger and that drive to be able to get after it. So, what I think that a lot of people are lacking now is that initiative, that taking the initiative and doing it. But it's not something that you can't do. It's not a skill set that you have to be born with. You can learn it. You can take those tools and go, I want to learn more. I want to ask every single person I can to teach me what I can learn to be able to be better. So.
And I don't know why I seem to have been born with it. My mother said I must got it from my father. She's the one that was really good at the finances. My dad was good at the business. So together they were a fantastic team, and then taught me a lot along the way. And then I also saw my father have that same discipline. We grew up in a military household. So, there was a lot of discipline, highways, no option. You've got things you got to do. There's categories, you got goals you got to accomplish. And there was not the option of if you failed, you failed. It wasn't congratulations for trying. I hate to say it. It was try again and it succeeded the next. Congratulatory accolades aren't going to get you anywhere, but pushing through and achieving your goal will. So
there's no participation trophies.
Right. No. No. But my dad would say, they had a very different philosophy. I mean, my dad would say things like, if I made a mistake and I was a little bit boisterous, even in school, because I was like, school's kind of holding me back a little bit. This is a little bit much. I'm not really learning anything here, and so I would kind of speak out. There were some teachers that I respected, unfortunately some that I didn't, but I believe you earn respect. You don't, just get it because you're elder. My mother disagreed, but my father kind of was on the fence. Right. But I think along the way, you just have to kind of stay disciplined and go after the things, you kind of want, and there's consequences to everything you do. So, if you want to slack off over here and go spend extra money here, there's going to be consequences down the line. And I think a lot of people don't like the consequences, but they also don't like to take ownership of how the consequences got there.
Yeah.
And ownership's a big thing when it comes to that.
Oh, that's huge. That's huge. Mm-hmm. So it seems like that's a lot of your approach to business,
it is. Mm-hmm.
After it. So how do you approach business? I guess maybe you could kind of give it to us in a nutshell. And then what do you feel like, new and up and coming entrepreneurs should be focusing on?
Assessing the need. We talked about that the other night, the widget concept. I'm not a widget person. I like profitability. I like giving other people the opportunity to grow within a company. I have a mindset in my companies that are managerial free, which is a very radical approach. We were doing everything at home base before it became trendy, before the pandemic. I've been doing that for years. Even when I had dealerships, I said I don't see the reason to have the overhead when I have other avenues, and then have more employees that are happy. They can work from home, more flexibility. But when they share in the profit in the company and its growth, then now they're invested. And I think sometimes people come in and want to still micromanage. If you have to micromanage some people, you might want to reevaluate your business or your employees. That's kind of how I look at it, because I think there's, to me, and it's proven over and over and over to be successful. If somebody makes a poor decision, eventually they'll leave because of lack of pay. They'll have to have someone come in and finish that job for them if they can't. When there's a deadline, there's a deadline. So everybody has to make those decisions, but there's consequences for those decisions. So I think, I see the world as a need-based business. I don't look for my little widget. My little widget I play with, and I figure my businesses will fund my widgets that may not be nothing. But I look at the world at need. And I think if you look at the world and you ask the questions, does my widget fulfill a need, a necessity, a true necessity? The likelihood of success of that widget's going to be phenomenal. But if you love that widget and you're trying to push that widget off on everybody, you're going to have a little slim chance. So I think, again, people have to look inward, let that ego down, look at some of your ideas, and be able to look at it from a third person perspective and say, is that a successful idea? Is there a need for it? Or is this a want-based business, and who wants it? And a lot of people can't do that. They just like their little widget, and they stuck with that little widget. So, and that's, I'm not saying that that's a bad approach. That's just not been the way that I do it.
Well, that's how you've been able to continue to reinvent yourself. A new idea, you find a need, you give it the energy, care it deserves, and it thrives. And so you've had a ton of success because of it in multiple industries, multiple different businesses. So I think that's huge. And so here's my other question, though. When you are, because I know a lot of people, when I got into business, I didn't understand anything about leading, and being the person that, I wasn't a boss before I became a business owner. So when it's a learning curve to be able to learn how to work with employees, how to work with staff, how to work with contractors or people that are going to be incentivized to work harder. And so I think all of those things are paramount important as you go down the road as an entrepreneur. But when people get that idea, they're not thinking about all of those bumps in the road along the way,
Right.
So
Well,
go ahead.
I was to say, I think I'm still not a boss. I look at everybody as a team. Now, do you have to have sometimes those uncomfortable situations that an owner of a company has to have with someone who's not having that drive, not taking it serious, taking a poor me mindset, because usually that's kind of what I find is more like, oh, this person was mean to me or whatever. There's tools to learn. But I think most people, they'll weed themselves out with my concept. Mm-hmm. So my concept truly is, if you don't have managers and everybody's taking a stake, your paycheck depends on the profitability of decisions you make moving forward. And it's all governed by numbers. So numbers prevent me from having favoritism, which I can do. That's ownership I have to take. If I've got employees, it's a good friend of mine, I like them a lot. And I might not care for this person as much over here, but they're fantastic, but I can't have a personal opinion in the game. So everything is ran by numbers, and that way it keeps everybody honest. So when people say, well, I think I should get a raise, well, let's look at these numbers. Or they say, well, Joe over here is making twice as much as I am. Well, do you want to see what Joe's doing for that money and what you can be doing? And now those numbers now government, and they're non-opinionated, and they can't be influenced by favoritism or dislike or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big advocate for the concept that I started doing in probably around 96, back in the day.
Yeah, well, that levels the playing field. Then you have productivity incentivized to work harder in order to be able to gain more,
right. Productivity. And the only thing somebody should be asking for me is if I lack a skill where I notice myself by the numbers that I currently have, that I can view myself. For example, in engineering, we put a new piece of equipment on there. If one person had 5 or 6 callbacks, you have to look at, is it you? Then I come in and fix it real quick, and then I don't have a callback, then you might need additional training. Right. So you're going to have to come to me and say, I think I've identified where my failure rate is. And then I think maybe this kind of training, and I can help you figure those things out to become successful. And that's okay. But a lot of people don't want to learn. I learn every day. I learn something every day, 2 or 3 times a day. I make a lot of mistakes. I realize, there's just so much stuff that you have to take ownership. And I think that's a big thing when it comes to business. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs, they can't take ownership for a lot of things. And I think that's going to hinder them down the road. Either they can be somewhat successful, but they can be a lot more successful. Absolutely. And then being humble. That's a big one too. I won't ask an employee to do anything I haven't done myself. Even when it comes to foundation work, I don't care if to do it, but I have. Yeah. And how. So, somebody can't come to me and say, oh, well, that lady doesn't understand how this foundation works. Oh, yes, this lady does, and the electrical. And I can tell you what code is and everything else because I've done it. And I don't like to, but I've done it. So, no, I have a clear understanding how hard the job is, and I'm going to appreciate you accordingly because I know how difficult it is. Mm-hmm.
And you know what? But that stems towards also being able to properly delegate. So you got to know what the job is. So you learn that skill of delegation early, right? Where you're hiring other people with the lead.
Well, in the beginning, I didn't have employees, so everything. I bought my first house, and I couldn't get a loan. I had to pull money out of 401k. That luckily I had a coworker that was a champ at 401ks and helped me triple my money. And I bought a house, and I learned how to sheetrock real quick. I struggled with putting in windows. I'd buy dinner and beer for some electricians to teach me more about electrical code and residential, just so I can have a clear understanding. I knew industrial, but I didn't know residential code. Foundation work, same way. Roofing's the only thing I haven't done, and I don't care to. I respect what they do. I've watched them do it, and I will write them a check to do it. So, and I appreciate them every single, I bring in food, drinks, because that's a hard job.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people need to appreciate, the grunt work that goes into helping somebody be successful. And I'm extremely appreciative. And if they need me to load dump trailers, I mean, I can get out of a suit real quick and go load a dump trailer if I need to.
Mm-hmm.
So
happen. So that's a skill of delegation. Like what's the benefit, or how do you feel that assembling a solid team will help you get to your goals faster?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way I could do any of what I do without the people around me. I think I've just been blessed with knowing fantastic people, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I think people see my drive, and I'm not a person you can give an excuse to, because I've done it. I'll do it. I've had kids that I run circles around, that come on and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Trinity, go stop." No, I can do a 25-hour day. You have to understand, I can continue to go. I can go 3 days with no sleep and still make effective decisions if I had to in an event of emergency. That's military. That's, kind of the military mindset. So I think I've earned the respect, but I think also too, we all learn together. There's stuff I learn every day. There's problems we encounter that I don't have the answers. And that's, I think just those kind of people, once either they like being around somebody like me, or somebody like me is going to push them away to a job, probably. Because when they see how I kind of go and multitask 10 different things at one time and still have a conversation with them, and I don't miss a detail, they kind of realize, okay, it's a big difference. So either they're all in or they're kind of all out.
And you know what? I think that what you said is really important there, because there are going to be people that look at your drive, look at all the things that you're getting done, and that repels them. They're like, "Oh no, I need to go back to a job where I don't have to work so hard." But the people that are drawn to you, they're like trying to orbit you like a planet. Those are the ones that are like, those are the people that I want to work with.
It. And I've got some people that say, "I love you, Caroline, but no, we're good. I'm not gonna work for you." And they've worked for me for a week. Like I'm not doing that. I totally plan to go home when my shift is over, and then I don't care about this job. Right. I'm like, that's great, that's your role, but have an understanding that your compensation will cap because that. And if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that too. Yeah. Because there's people who I need those people too. But then there's people who are like, no, I want to do this. And then what else do you have for me after? What else can I learn? What else can I do? So you just kind of have to identify, where people fit well and where they don't. And if they're wanting to grow and if they don't, and then just kind of assemble it from there. Because everybody has a role. I don't think there's any right or wrong. Some people are completely okay doing a 9-to-5 kind of job and then going home, and they don't. Me, I don't even know what that looks like. I have no idea. I never have. I think I did it one time, like for a week when I was a kid, and I was like, yeah, this is killing me. I mean, I've got to do other things, and I never wanted to have all my eggs in one basket. That's always been, I went to work for McDonnell Douglas, and when I got laid off, I thought I was going to retire from them. And I said, after that, I'll never have all my eggs in one basket. I'll never be a victimhood of corporate America. So not that I don't dislike a lot of aspects about it. Sometimes it's great. Yeah.
It's okay to not like working a job. On my worst day as an entrepreneur, I can't even imagine being like, hey, do you think you could give me this job? Yeah, you know what? I'll go find my own job. Like I'll go find my own.
Well, and there's good things about that too. I guess, I came from a blessed career, being one of the only female in industrial electrical engineers with Siemens, having that opportunity. We had a lot of freemen, but talking about fantastic companies. So with the similar mindsets. So we did well. So sometimes I do say, gosh, it's nice to have a boss. Just tell me what to do, because I get tired of making decisions sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes, when, not always, but sometimes you get beat down, like, I don't know what direction we need to go in. And then those are the days you miss, like an old boss that was fantastic, seemed to have all the answers. You miss that person because there's nobody to ask. I've got mentors I can ask, but, it's still not the same. Sometimes it would be nice to take a month of go home and not worry about nothing, but I don't know the last. Yeah.
There's some of those days, but we all have bad days.
True.
So what's with the Great Resignation? Like, why are all these people leaving their jobs now? It was like 15 million, 20 million people left their jobs in 2021.
I don't know. I think nowadays a lot of things are in your own hands where it didn't used to be available to you. Meaning you can self-market, self-develop. The cost, even like with our media company, when I started that media company, the cost of our media equipment was astronomical. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I picked something wrong here,
Yeah.
But now it's so affordable. So depending on what it is, whatever their widget is, and they have a lot less or a lot more control over marketing that widget themselves, managing it themselves, having access to equipment more. Now it's, you're more efficient because we can do things like this, and it's now more acceptable in the workplace to do more Zoom calls and things like that. So I think maybe that's it. And it could be that, the stimulus might have been able to stimulate somebody enough to make those changes where financially they might not have been able to have the time and the means to do it. Maybe the pandemic kind of allowed them to.
I think they got a much needed break and decided, maybe I'm not that happy doing what I've been doing for 10 years or 20 years,
Somebody told me one time, who told you you're supposed to be happy? Somebody told me that before. But I guess, and that's a perspective. I've been happy doing everything, and I've done night jobs, to pay for stuff that a lot of people wouldn't do. I found joy in everything. So I guess I'm one of the few people say I've never really had a job I've hated, really. And I've done some demeaning jobs. When I got laid off, that scared me. Here, I thought I was going to retire from McDonnell Douglas. They had a 7-year contract to pay for my education, and you let me off, like what? I didn't think that was going to happen. And of course, I had my severance, but I'm not going to sit idle. I kind of, did all kind of stuff, tried all kind of different things, and but met a lot of nice people along the way. So I guess too, every day I take joy in everything I do, even if it's loading a dump trailer to help my contractors. I'm with my contractors. They're fantastic people. We go get lunch. That makes a great day. It's all on how you want to look at things. And so I think maybe is that the perspective that caused people to leave? They're sick of not being able to manage, drama in the workplace, micromanagement. I don't know. Maybe some of those things are contributing factors potentially.
I think they're all true. I think it's all of it. I think it's different for different people. But I ask everybody that question, and it's amazing how the perspective on from an entrepreneur to somebody who actually quit a real job. You know what I mean?
See, I could go back to work for somebody else too. And I've had clients who've needed me to come in and help me started businesses. And I've never waited tables for in my life. That was on my list. So I'm going to wait tables. And she's like,
it's not that fun.
She said, are you crazy? I said, you have to understand, I skipped all that. I went straight to programming at 15 years old. I didn't know these little jobs that you work at school. I went straight, to corporate. And I said, I will totally help you since your people are out. This is going to be so much fun. She said, something's wrong with you, Caroline. I said, this will be fun, though. So I did it, and I memorized the script, had my thing, and my table, I got $100 tip.
Nice.
And she said, what are you doing? But that's the perspective though. I think I come in with that same, I don't know if it's a childlike enthusiasm, or what it is, but I get excited about everything, every little thing. And that was something that was on my list, that I never waited tables, and nobody would ever give me a job because I didn't have an experience. I'm like, if I can do all of this, I think I can understand how that works. But that was fun to do. But if I had to go back now for a job, I'd make the best of that too. I don't think I'm to that point now that I would have to, but you never know. Things can change, and sometimes it might be better just to go work for somebody else and get a check. You never, but I think I'm happy either way.
I think it's all perspective. And I heard a long time ago that even when you're an employee, treating your job as if they've contracted you. And so like it's your own business, but they've contracted your services. So doing the absolute best that you can, that's, whether you're an intrapreneur, you're working for somebody else, or you're an entrepreneur, just having that initiative, taking that best step to be able to produce the best widget you can, whether it's a widget, a service, or whatever. So I think that mindset is really key. And that's definitely why you've had a lot of success. And I think if people will follow that mindset more, they can have more success in whatever they decide to do.
I think humbleness comes to that too. Like I said, when I was working for my friend that needed a waitress, she said, well, I need the trash taken out. I'll take out the trash. She's like, well, she actually came to me and said, I can't believe, that I'm one of your clients. And she's a pretty big client of mine, and I won't say they are, but we also became friends along the years. She said, you acted like a normal employee. I said, well, the hat I'm wearing at that was, you're my boss. Not that we are equals outside of here, you're my client or what have you. Right now, you needed your trash taken out. That was a function of my job. So, I mean, that's my job to take the trash out. And she said, my own employees won't do that. So I don't know if that's a different kind of mindset. But if I have somebody I respect, I've had bosses that I have respected tremendously. My goal is to help you look good and become more successful. Now, if I don't have respect for you, you don't. And I've been always honest about that. I probably can't say this. I'm not in the tail. I am not in the tail kissing business. I am in the business of making my company successful or the company I work for successful. So I don't do politics. I don't participate in those things. I don't do drama. I opt out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, people have to earn my respect, and then I give it 100%. So, and I try to earn other people's respect. I don't expect them just to have it because I've got a title.
That's huge. That is huge. Well, I love this. This has been so much fun. I know, like, I just knew when I talked to you, I was like, oh, this is going to be so good. The mindset is so important. And I think that
it is.
I got in business so many years ago, and a lot of people thought I was crazy. They were like, because I left medicine. They're like, that's out of your mind. But I've been able to make it work. And sometimes, you do certain things, you read books, and you can't put your finger on exactly what it is, but it's that initiative, that drive, that, always striving to be able to learn more, do more, get better,
Well, and you never know, for example, what you did for medical could come full circle in something later on. Like, I was an engineer for years, and then I've had my media company now for 14, 15 years. We do safety videos, and I got hired to do safety videos, and I was the only person they ever talked to that had all the certificates you needed for Six Sigma, 5S, all these things. And like, where did you come from? I'm like, oh yeah, I retired. I'm a retired engineer. I totally understand everything you're doing. And now we've got the contracts for doing that. Who would have thought? I mean, we do commercials, we do social media management, we do websites, documentaries, news stuff. Who would have thought that would have been a huge bread and butter for the media company with safety videos? Yeah. And here I had all the certifications that none of my competition would have. So, with you having those kind of skills, you never know how that's going to play out, because businesses change, or you have multiple ones, at the time. So you might be surprised that opportunity might come together, and you're going to be the only one qualified for that skill set because you had that past education, that experience, and now you've got this new one, and that bridge gap is going to make a huge difference, and you'll be successful because of that. So I don't think anything's a failure. I don't think learning and doing anything is ever a failure, ever.
That's amazing. Well, I feel even better about myself.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed, definitely, because I'm a what do you call it? A Google interest in medical. Like, I like a lot of holistic medication. That's why I kind of ventured out and tried some of the holistic stuff with the franchises. That was my first little taste of it, and I was like, gosh, So here you already have the background to take something like that way further than I could have.
It was not an easy undertaking, that's for sure. I still have people that are like, it's such a shame that you're not practicing medicine. I'm like, I don't feel that way at all. I'm happy. I'm happy. A shame for who?
Well, and too, practicing is a mindset. That's somebody else's perception. You could be helping someone. That could be your purpose.
Yeah.
You could be helping people on a daily basis. It may just not be in the conventional environment that they're accustomed to, because you still have the knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look at what I do as a service. The financial industry, doesn't, people don't look at it like, oh, we're out to help people. But like, I've always taken that mindset of education, literacy, being good, getting a handle on it so that you can thrive and you can have a healthier, happier, wealthier life. It's not.
Well, that's why you've been so successful too, because of that humble. I'm the same way. I'm a service. I love being a service to others, and I love making people successful. I mean, I get excited. I think I get more excited than they do. I don't know. I just get tickled because I love to see people just thrive, whether that's in real estate and investments and me. I mean, whatever it is they want to do that I can help with, I'm on it. Whether it's just connecting two people, it doesn't matter. A contractor, a roofer, I'll send referrals. I just like seeing good people be successful. So that makes my life more rich.
That's huge. Well, oh man, this has been so much fun. I love this. What a great time. I love asking you questions because I think your mindset is just so key. And I wish that more people were able to just kind of like bottle that mindset and, help them get to the next level. So I have a couple of like fun little questions, just kind of like this or that. So Mac or PC?
I am anti-I. I'm a technology person. PC, because if something breaks, I can fix it myself. I don't have to go to Apple and have to teach them how to fix my stuff.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
I don't drink the Kool-Aid. I don't follow trends. I set trends. No.
I've had PC forever. And so, like every once in a while, I'm like, oh, maybe I should try a Mac. No. So big party or small gathering?
I like both.
Both?
They both have their functions. Sometimes I like to hang with my inner circle, and sometimes we like to blow it out.
Okay. All right. Maybe I can come to Charlotte, hang with you and Chris one day.
Absolutely, yes.
That would be fun. So if you're walking or exercising, like music or podcasts?
I have to have, if I'm doing, so exercise for me and hiking for me is the mental clarity I need to do to work through issues.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I have to keep this calm kind of perspective that I try to keep. I'm pretty good at it. I don't like getting jacked up, so I have to have my blowout music. I mean, my ears have got to be going. Yeah, I don't want to hear nothing. I've had people try to go with me like, we don't talk when I walk. We don't talk when I hike or run. Thank you. I'm gonna need you to turn up your music. Yeah.
I love it. So jogging or hiking, which you prefer?
Well, I used to run. It's on the mountains, so it's a hike run.
Oh,
but right now I'm rebuilding after an injury, so I'm slow going. So, but that's okay. I'm gonna get there.
Okay. So passenger or driver?
Driver, 100%.
I believe that.
Yeah, I don't. This is a horrible thing.
Oh my gosh! See, that's the beauty of live, right? You get to you get to just little things will happen.
That's okay. But no, I have to drive. I have a difficult time, and this is my own stuff. In event of an emergency, how well can people handle things? Yeah. Some people flip out. You might think they would be the one to handle the decision. I don't want to be in a passenger car with somebody else. I have a huge issue with those kind of things right off the bat. Yeah, everybody knows. It takes them a while. They're like, Carolee's always driving. Yes, Carolee is. Yeah, I'll come and get you. That's fine.
I love it. Well, you trust yourself, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I've been in situations in my life that most people have not.
Yeah.
That have brought the attention to me. I can handle events of an emergency pretty well and calmly. And I've been shocked at who I thought maybe could, that maybe they couldn't. So I think all of that I'm comfortable with my ability to make decisions in an emergency, and it varies with others. So
nice. Okay. Well, I've had so much fun.
Same here.
And getting to know you even better. This is
thank you.
A true joy to spend some time with you today. And your mindset.
Well, it was an honor to me. Thank you. I appreciate it. You would even consider little old me. That's kind of how I look at things, but I appreciate it.
And there's that humility again, right? I just do what I do. But you're incredible. I'm excited to be able to put this out and let other people know that the mindset is there. The mentors are there.
Yeah.
You just have to.
I'll mentor anybody who wants to help, but I also can't hold you by the hand. I mean, you're going to have to, like I tell people, you have to do it afraid. People tell me, I'm afraid. I'm afraid every day. I get anxious every day. Everybody does. I mean, do you think I'm in the absence of being anxious? The absence of fear? Absolutely not. No, I mean, we have to go. You want to go get it. There's going to be 1,000 no's. Usually about one yes. And I just let it roll off. You can't get your feelings hurt. You can't get in your feelings about all this kind of mess. You just got to keep that focused on your eye on the target, focused on the goal. But you got to do the work, and people can't handhold you, and then nobody owes you anything. So I think if people can have that mindset, they'll attract great mentors, because people like me, I don't want to waste my time for somebody that want to help themselves. I can't babysit you. I mean, you have to run with it. I like to throw that ball and run with it. If you choose to drop it, that's on you.
We're about the mic drops on that. So.
Right.
Gotta go get it. All right. Well, that's all I have. Caroline's amazing. Thank you, Caroline Jackson.
Thank you.
I will post her. If I'll post your website, if there's any links that you, where can they follow you on Instagram or?
Well,
Facebook.
it depends on, I guess, what service it is.
What service, right? What business?
Right, because I'm not the face of everything, but for real estate, that's something I absolutely love. But yeah, that would be Jackson Cream Realty on that, and then Binary benefits me to, but I don't really do the day to day to that. We've got people that handle a lot of that. Same way with the houses. So
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Well, everyone out there, be inspired. Go do some huge things in 2022, and let Caroline Jackson be a guide for you. Just know that everything that you want is just on the other side of that comfort zone, and everything that you're after. So be inspired for a great life, everybody. Take care.
thank you.